loved it so much that we decided, Karissa, where are you? Karissa, we decided to make it the first story in the collection. I'm telling you now in front of everyone so that there's no objection you can have. So,
thank you.
Let me get your bio 1 second, Karissa. Where is it? Karissa Chen is a writer living in New Jersey. She is currently completing her MFA at Sarah Lawrence College. Her work has previously been published in Pendle, how do you pronounce this? Pendle Boys? Pendle Boys. And Two Hawks Quarterly. When she's not writing, Karissa can usually be found haunting karaoke rooms in Manhattan. Everybody, Karissa Chen.
I took this missive really seriously. Works in progress. I wrote this yesterday, and it's not finished. So, it's called Notes from a Survivor. 1. This is the first truth you need to know. You are a survivor. This is the second truth. You'd never stepped foot in a church until the world nearly ended. When you finally did, it wasn't because you thought you would find God in there. It was because there was nowhere else to go. It was because the rest of the city was fire and ash, and somehow, by miracle, the cathedral had been spared. Don't listen when they tell you this alone proves you are a good Christian. Think about this hard. How could the death and destruction of countless thousands prove anything? Remember now how strange it was to see all those snow-covered people packed into the pews, all pigment obliterated from their skin. You were uniformly the shade of dust, your eyes the only color blinking through the blankness. Somewhere up front, there were monks singing, carrying on with mass like nothing had occurred. You were glad for this. You found the melismas of their chanting comforting, the way it floated over your head in a mist of hope. It rose into the curved ceiling of the cathedral, hovering like a force field. Next to you was an old Asian woman, her face carved with hundreds of canyons. She told you her entire family had been bombed, all 30 great-grandchildren, and now she was the last of her line. She said this simply, emotionless. You thought it very strange. Had she come here to pray for their souls or whatever it was you did when everyone died, you asked. She said she was Buddhist, but yes, in a manner of speaking. You didn't know what that meant, but it seemed like the wrong time to enter a theological discussion. Then a man came by with a book tucked beneath his arm, and he turned to you and spoke. You could see he was crying. "Don't you remember me?" he asked. You looked him up and down, at the crumpled suit he was wearing, at his beard sprayed with dust, and you looked for the color of his eyes, which were brown, before responding truthfully, "No." "I'm your," he started to say, but you never found out what that answer was, if he was your boyfriend or husband or brother or friend, because then the ceiling, the one holding the hum of music over you, split open in a vein of flame and fell. 2. When I wake, it feels like I'm coming back from the dead, or as if I've suddenly been born. What must the first man have felt when God touched his head and gave him the spark of consciousness? That is what I felt today upon waking, and it was less beautiful than you might expect. 3. This is the real truth, or so they say. You are a woman who sits in a room painted white. You have a bed with no posts and 2 slightly flattened pillows and 3 sundresses in your closet that you can't remember ever having worn. You are 41, according to them. You like orange juice with pulp and a banana every morning. Outside your window is grass. After that, there is a wall. You don't know if the world is over beyond that wall, and they won't tell you. You don't get a mirror. They're afraid you'll break it. Listen closely. You must write everything down. They'll ask you to play the piano. Say yes. You won't think you know how, but you do. You will. Your fingers know by themselves how to press the right keys in the right way. You'll watch them in amazement, like they're somebody else's fingers, not yours. Yes, they move fast, like the legs of a spider twitching, but what they do, no spider does. The notes will string out in a chain that wraps around you, like invisible angels holding hands in a circle. You'll feel them twisting and crossing around you until you're in a bubble of its doing. And in there, things will start to come back to you. When the notes are over, the memories will be gone too. So trill notes back and forth in your head until you can get to your notebook. Don't forget. These are precious. You might not get them back. You might not ever get them back. Write them down. Write them down so that later, when your consciousness is as blank and black as slate, we have them to look back upon. 4. There was a crisp whisper of the leaves in the wind as I walked up the hill. Gravel scraped beneath my soles, and to my right was a bright creaking of a swing. I saw a yellow balloon float toward me, lost by a child. This was the brightness of the day shining upon me. This was the moment before everything changed. 5. The woman who comes in regularly, we call her the caretaker, is not going to be much help. She will tell you things, but they won't make sense. She will avoid answering questions you do want to know, and it will just make you angry or sad. So don't bother with her. She'll be good for certain things, like when you are tired, she can give you the medicine. And when you are hungry, she knows that you don't like corn. And when you are cold, she'll bring you an extra blanket. But if you ask her about outside or about the things you remember when you play the piano, she'll make something up or tell you you're dreaming, or worst of all, she'll look at you with sockets full of pity. That will make you feel horrible. So don't do it. You did it once, possibly more, and we just don't remember. And there's no need to go through that again. Remember this: the caretaker doesn't care. She will try to get you to go to church today because today is Sunday. It might not actually be Sunday, but she'll tell you it is Sunday just to convince you to go. And you might be tempted to go. You might be tempted because she'll tell you that once you're there, the rituals of prayer and the otherworldliness of a higher being will help heal you. But you've been there before. And aside from the hymns, which do move you, the rest of it feels foreign and strange. It is just a man from the building saying things at you that don't make sense. It's nothing like the cathedral from the second truth. It doesn't have transcendent prayer or even stained glass. It is just a room, and you will be by yourself, and that will feel wrong and strange, worse than when you wake up from the dead. Don't go. I'm telling you, don't do it. Ask to play the piano. That makes sense. You'll see. That will make more sense than anything. 6. There was a boy with a wheelbarrow, dirt mounted inside. It was red, like the cowboy hat he had on, its candy-striped string dangling loosely around his big ears. He pushed the wheelbarrow over a bumpy road and then brought a toy airplane out of his pocket and crashed it in a nosedive into the dirt. He turned to look at me where I stood beneath a canopy of crusting leaves. I smiled. 7. The caretaker will sometimes ask you to repeat what you've written. She wants to know what notes you're taking down because she wants to know how you're healing. Don't read her the memories. She will want to rip out those pages because she'll say she doesn't want you confusing yourself. Thumb through the notebook now. See the jagged pages? We've already lost so many memories that we don't know we'll ever get back. Don't let that happen again. Read this note. Bookmark it. Underline these words over and over. Do not read her the memories. Instead, tell her this is what you've been writing down. 8 a.m. Woke up and had breakfast. I have forgotten everything. They tell me I start each day from scratch. 9 a.m. Caretaker came in and gave me my medicine. It's to help me heal. Noon. Time for lunch. They tell me I've forgotten everything because I refuse to remember. 2 p.m. Played the piano. It feels nice to make music. 4 p.m. They want me to go to church. Didn't feel like it today. Maybe next Sunday. 6 p.m. Dinner. I feel happy. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Adjust accordingly, but stick closely to this script. Too much deviation makes them suspicious. They mostly think you're a broken human, so just let them think that you are. 8. Music is joy and more joy. joy at feeling the timbre of the notes beneath my fingers, at the wonder of unexpected rapture when I just let my hands guide me. I can hide myself in the notes, let them carry me like a wave. Things make sense to me there in a way I can't explain. Maybe I didn't remember anything today, but I also knew who I was. I was a woman with purpose. I belonged on this earth. In a day that was mostly colorless, the crest of sound took me to a place that they can't argue with. It's mine, all mine, and in here I can focus. In here, I'm no longer blurry, but slowly sharpening at the edges. 9. This is another truth they'll try to saddle you with. They'll tell you that you feel guilty. They won't tell you what about, because to do so would be cruel, but they will tell you that your memory loss has something to do with trauma, but also something to do with guilt. They will tell you that these two threads are braided, and that untangling them is the key to helping you. You should not listen. You have your memories. Your memories are more vivid than anything they can ever try to convince you happened. This is why we keep these notes, so that we can see our life more clearly. You might be curious to find out what they're alluding to. You might ask questions because you think you can trust them or that they will tell you the truth. But think about this. What evidence have they given to allow you to trust them? They are keeping you captive. For all you know, they could have been the ones to do this to you. For all you know, there was a war, and they were the ones who bombed the cathedral on the day it landed on you. 10. Blood oranges from my trees splattered against the glass doors of my house like broken birds. The sky was thundering, but that's all I could fixate on. The way the fruit slid slowly down in a trail of pulp, like they were hoping I would let them in before they died. 11. Sometimes you might suddenly remember a phone number. You will be tempted to ask the caretaker if you might be able to place a phone call. You will feel this inexplicable urge, a franticness, a desperation. You will feel that if you can just make this phone call, everything will be all right, because whoever this number belongs to will certainly come and save you. You won't even know who this person is, but you'll hope it's the man from the cathedral, or maybe somebody else you haven't been able to remember. You might feel slightly silly for believing in someone you don't know. Nonetheless, you will yearn for the stranger so terribly that your chest will feel like it has a yawning chasm spilling out in front of it. Don't bother asking. The caretaker will not make the phone call. She will look at you sadly. She will tell you this phone number does not exist, or that there are no phones, or that this person is no longer alive, or all of the above, and you will feel your heart crumbling. Or maybe it is just your hope. I'll stop there. Thank you.